All right, all right. I wanted to go over the important zones of liquidity that I look for very consistently in my trading. I'm going to be taking this from a price action trader's perspective. I do have a more in-depth perspective on order flow. That's phase 6, okay? And that one's really optional. Not everybody's into order flow. I understand that. So let's go ahead and dive right into this, okay? So here we are. We're talking about phase 3 of the orb. This is where you're going to start adding discretion. This is where you're going to start adding, like intuition into your trading. Right? You're going to be paying attention to how price is moving. How is it approaching a high? Is it approaching quickly? Is it like struggling to make it there? What kind of reaction do you get once we're there? These are the kinds of things you're going to pay attention to. Okay. All right. So we come into this day, right? And we have our range and it's forming. Okay. We did our orb. We got candle 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty much right there. 930, 935, bang, highs and lows. Now we've got our range. Okay. What I like to have marked on my charts a lot of times, or at least in my brain, okay, is previous day high, previous day low, London high, Asia high, and can you guess the last one? Asia low. Okay. Usually when they get tapped, I just go ahead and, I stop pulling them over. But these are the ranges that I'm looking for. Okay. So when I go to take a trade on the orb, I'm going to be pay attention to where these are. Are they in my way? Are they going to, cause volatility? Are they going to cause a turnaround, right? As you can see, previous day high, boom, we hit it, we're ranging, and now we're starting to pull back. Okay. So just knowing that potentially happens, it does change a little how I manage this trade up here, which I actually did today, and I want to explain that to you. But I want to go over a scenario. Okay, I want to pretend that the orb range. I want to pretend we got a short right here. Okay, and so if the orb told me to short, let's just pretend we have an orb. Okay, and I'm going to put my stop right there. Okay, and I'm targeting 1 to 3. Right, pretty standard. That gives us our baseline for our orb and how we're going to react in the market. Right. Okay, so now I got it. Now I'm in a trade. So what am I looking at? Okay, if I back out and I take a little bit more of a high level view of the day, previous day low, that's the lowest liquidity from the day. I am a intraday trader. Okay, I do not trade like all week long. All right, I don't swing trade the market. I do. That's a whole different story. What I'm talking about right here is the orb intraday. All right, so I have this previous day low. Now it is very likely that we could come down and sweep the previous day low. Sure. But that's still only going to give me, 1.5 R. That's not enough. It's not like, oh, guaranteed I'll get stopped out. There's a high probability I'm going to get stopped out in this trade. So here's where the discretion comes in. Okay. Most likely we're going to either move down, we're going to sweep some lows from yesterday and some lows from previous sessions, and then we're going to rebalance and we're going to go, we're going to go back in the opposite direction. Okay. And that's pretty much what we did. We came down, we swept London low here, right? And of course, Asia low, which was already swept into. All right. And now previous day low is sitting down here, but it's untouched. So this orb to me, I may start doing stuff like this really fast, like moving in my stop. And if the price moves down a little bit and we sweep previous day low and we start coming back aggressively, I just may close that thing and break even or just a little bit of profit just to go ahead and get that off my chart, because most likely, not always, many times do we just like continue down. Okay. But I'm going to change the way I manage that stop loss. I'm going to change the way, I manage the risk on that trade. I'm going to pay more attention to that kind of stuff. All right. Okay. But that's not what we got today. What we got today was actually a nice orb. Okay. We had a nice, good looking orb. It was a nice long orb. We took it into community together. We had candle 1, 2, and 3. So boom, just like that. Stop below the wick to be exact. And then we had a 1 to 3. So let's go ahead and look at this. Ooh, oh, hold on. Go back. Orb range. Don't be moving around on me. Okay, so we had candles I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Yep, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then 1 to 3, 1 to 3. I can do it. I'm telling you, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Okay, 1 to 2, 9. That's fine. All right. So that was the orb for today. Okay. And what are we sitting at? So this is a perfect example, right? If there we go. We got wow, we literally wicked the top of the day. Okay, that's not where I sold out, by the way. So let's go ahead and I'll explain where I did because it helps make sense, right? Okay. So here we go. What we got going on here today is we got our orb. All right. One, I'm just going to be straight with y'all. Okay. I like to move it in 20, 30%. Okay. It just makes things so much better as far as numbers. All right. So instantly turns it into a 4.2, 4.4, R return. And also what I'm looking at is Asia high. All right. So we pretty much orbed straight into Asia high. Okay. We got the candles are pushing hard. Boom, 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 boom. And so right when I'm getting in, I'm right below these Asia highs, Asia high and London high. So I'm going to pay attention how we react here. What do we do? Like we did. We pushed through it pretty good. We blast through it. We did come back down to kind of rebalance this because this was a really long push up here. And then what did we do? We bounced around just a little bit, did a little bit of rebalancing, and then we just like moved up. Okay. And so once we did that, right, now I know that this is definitely an area I could de-risk. Okay. I could totally de-risk the trade. And I know it's like showing stop here, but so I could de-risk the trade. And as we started to push up, once we pushed up and we shorted this previous day high, that's when I decided to go ahead and move my stop, and I put it right on the candle body there. Okay, because it was at this high. It was right here where we had a nice big fair value gap right here, and we started to balance. Now, once we broke through previous day high, I rolled my stop loss up again. Okay, I rolled it up again, and then there we go. Okay. And once we came down and we kind of rebalanced this fair value gap, because now I'm trailing very tightly. I came up, I put them under this candle bodies. So that's where I got stopped out today. Okay. I have zero complaints. Zero complaints with this. Right? I don't know if I can grab the stop here. I'm going to try. Usually you can't. Ooh, look at me go. Look at me go. Okay. All right. So we're going to say it was just really below this wick right here. All right. So it was a 1 to 4.2 by the time we were done. I'll take that. I'll take that every day. I wish it would happen every day. Okay. Oh, hold on. My apologies. Here we go. So my stop was right there. Okay. So that's actually, okay. 3.6, 3.8. I think it was actually a 3.8 mathematically. But so at 3.6, our return on that trade today. Okay, because that's where I got bumped out. It actually happened over here because I was below these candle bodies right here and we came down, boom. Okay, and now we're doing this. We'll see what happens. Okay. But that's how you're starting to apply discretion. Okay. Now, the one thing I don't want to do is to start to apply this discretion early on for, base of fear. Okay. We get our orb, we push through, and then we push way up right here, right? I'm not looking to, take this orb and like start trailing just because we went to 1.34, right? I'm not looking to trail my stop from this point, right? I definitely realize that, we had this nice big push. There's a high chance of rebalancing, which we did. And I'd already mitigated some risk off of the trade. Not very much, but a little bit. Okay. And then we started to move up. Well, once we created this range right here, once we pushed, that's when I de-risked the trade. Okay. So that's the kind of management you need to do. Obviously, it depends from strategy to strategy. But this is the kind of discretion you need to work on. These are the kinds of liquidity zones that I look for. I also do order flow, which I briefly talked about, and I have on phase 6. It's completely optional. Order flow is not for everybody, but you could pull a volume ranged profile to see where the value area highs, the POC, and the value area low is, to give you an idea of where the ranges are and where the price might try and balance back to. But this just gives you a high level view. And a lot of times this helps pull me out of the 1 minute candle, so I'm not just like ultra leaned in and just sucked into watching every single 1 minute candle print, right? I can pull my brain out and be like, well, here's previous day high, right? Here's previous day low, and then here are the session highs and lows. It just gives me an idea of where potentially a lot of trading has happened, right? And where a lot of the ranges are. All right. So I hope this has been helpful for you. This is a part of phase 3. This is what I think a lot of people do struggle with because of the, the discretion, man. It really, like, when you start making decisions, you start buying in emotionally, right? And just don't do it. Just kind of create some rules for yourself. Like me, when I felt like we kind of shorted this and pulled down and got rejected, that's why I went ahead and de-risked and, moved my trade up under this candle body right here. It was like, okay, so I'll get a 1.5 R. I'll take that, if we decide to turn, because a lot of times we'll front run, levels because we just run out of liquidity up here. That's where the volume profile comes in, by the way. But we did push down, and then we started to push back up, and we actually, swept this high. That was fantastic. Now I know, probabilistically speaking, could never say that word, I need to start trailing very tightly, right? Because of that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I'll see you guys in the next video.